Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow's the big day, but what about the Congress? We've been focusing in on that presidential election, but what about the Senate? That's been a thorn in the side of Republicans, and our CBN News political editor, John Waggy, is here with us with his fearless predictions for this year's election. John, start with Missouri. I can't imagine anybody talking about a legitimate race. I mean, unless I don't understand it. I cannot understand it, but he's backed off of that and said, I'm sorry, and so forth. So.
Yeah, and immediately, Pat, he backed off of it. Yeah. Immediately, he came out with an apology. It's one of those things that I think in the heat of the debate, you run into trouble on, and he certainly did run into trouble. I'm going to go out on a limb with that very first race in Missouri and say that Aiken is going to pull it out. Now, it is close in some of the polls. I think that Claire McCaskill is tied to the health care plan, Obamacare, which is very unpopular in Missouri. I think there was a referendum that 70% of voters voted against tying Missouri to Obamacare, and she's in on that. Okay. And so I think it may go for Aiken, but that's an out on the limb pick, I'll admit.
All right, now you got the rest of the country. Now, as far as the House goes, you don't think there's going to be any shift? You think it's going to be the same number?
I think that the House is going to stay just about what it is now. You know, the Democrats had a Drive for 25 campaign where they were going to get the necessary 25 seats to make Nancy Pelosi Speaker again. I think both on the right and left side of the aisle that there's an acknowledgement that that isn't going to happen. And right now the Republicans, have about a 25-30 seat margin. They're going to keep it, I think. And I predict no change in the House of Representatives.
Okay, well, we'll take that. Now, let's go to the Senate. We've got Harry Reid as majority leader. We've got Mitch McConnell as minority leader. And we've got, all right, 7 seats.
So I'm predicting the Republicans take 7 seats.
All
now,
right, let's go for them. Which one?
That would be Missouri, that we've already talked about,
right.
Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Wisconsin.
Pennsylvania?
Well, Pennsylvania is an interesting race. That was considered a shoo-in for Robert Casey Jr. Up to 2 months ago. Tom Smith, the Republican, has been moving up in the polls, and now it's a virtual dead heat. And with Pennsylvania moving into a dead heat in the presidential race, and the fact that the Republican was elected Senator Toomey 2 years ago, and they have a Republican governor just elected, I'm going to go with Tom Smith, who is a businessman who has been putting some effective ads and can take advantage of the anger over coal country.
Slipping across to the most hotly contested state is Ohio. You're predicting the Republicans will win one there?
I am predicting based on who I think is going to turn out at the polls, and I think it's going to be a surprise. Now, Josh Mandel is the Republican candidate. He's an ex-Marine intelligence officer, 35 years old, and has already won a statewide race in Ohio. He's been running very even with Sherrod Brown. The polls show Sherrod Brown a little bit ahead, but I think that Mandel may come in for a surprise on election night.
All right. Tommy Thompson is a many-term governor of Wisconsin, and now he's coming in running for Senate, and he was behind for a while. Now he's up. Or
he's up on one poll and down in another poll. So it's just about even in Wisconsin between Tommy Thompson and Tammy Baldwin, who's one of the more liberal Congress people in Wisconsin. She represents Madison. And she does have a slight edge in a couple of the polls, but Wisconsin has the national chairman, RNC, a vice presidential candidate, a newly elected senator 2 years ago, and a newly elected governor who won a recall election back in June. So if there's ever a turnout effort that would help Tommy Thompson, it's going to be in Wisconsin.
All right. Now, you figure Ken Conrad is going out from North Dakota. You think North Dakota is going to swing? He's a conservative Democrat. Now you think it's going to go Republican?
I think that the Republican Rick Berg is going to win. He's already won a statewide race, but the Democrats have hired or have nominated an attractive conservative named Heidi Heitkamp. She's run a close race, and she is a candidate that a lot of North Dakotans like. I still think it's going to lean Republican in the end, and that'll be a takeaway for the GOP.
You'd think that the Republicans could take Montana, but that's not your call.
No, I'm predicting that the incumbent John Tester, who won in a squeaker over Conrad Burns 6 years ago, is going to hold on in Montana. Those polls, again, this one could go either way. Rayburg has won a statewide race before, and more than once, and so this one is literally 48-48, I believe, is the number. But I'm going to hold on with the incumbent in this race, even though Romney will win the state.
Well, you get up into New England, and you look like the Republicans will lose a couple. Olympia Snowe is retiring in Maine, and you think...
Yes, the independent in Maine, Angus King, has been governor of the state, and I believe that King is so far ahead in the polls that he's going to win over both the Republican and the Democrat, and he will caucus with the Democrats, and so that will give the Democrats, in effect, a takeaway with Olympia Snowe being the Republican and retiring. So
the surprise of your calls is in Massachusetts, though, where you've got Elizabeth Warren, who's kind of claiming she's an Indian.
Yes, she ran into some trouble with that. And Scott Brown was the darling of the nation a couple of years ago when he said he would be the 51st vote against Obamacare. Yeah. He's still running close in the polls. One poll shows Elizabeth Warren 6 points ahead. This is a state with 3-to-1 Democratic registration advantage, and independents are voting for Scott Brown in big numbers. He has a sizable lead among independents, but he needs an even bigger lead than he has.
Well, you'd be surprised, but Elizabeth Warren shouldn't appeal to those Irish up there. I mean, you know, like Tip O'Neill and the Kennedys and so forth. She is an Irish. I mean, she's claiming to be Indian, and I don't know what else. You know. But she's a kind of autocratic professor of law.
Despite her claims as far as the ethnic background and makeup goes, she has been making headway, and unless he's able to pull out a big turnout among independents, I think she wins it in Massachusetts.
Okay, well, now down in Connecticut, you've got the heiress of a big wrestling fortune. Is she going to make it or not?
Well, you know, Linda McMahon was one of those that people were watching 2 years ago. She ended up losing a Senate race there by 12 points. Now in the race to replace Senator Lieberman, who's an independent, she's within about a 6-point margin of the Democrat, and she's been spending her own money on advertising. So she has a chance, but I'm going with the Democrat Murphy to hold on that seat for the Democrats.
All right, well, swinging down here to Virginia, there's a close one between two former governors, Tim Kaine, who was a Democrat, and George Allen, who was a very popular Republican governor.
Yes, who narrowly lost a race 6 years ago. I'm going with Allen, and you can pick your poll in this race, Pat. There's one that shows Kaine up 7. There's another one showing Allen up 5. Romney is still campaigning even now in the state of Virginia, which shows he doesn't have it locked up. But I think the turnout under Governor McDonnell, who is a Republican governor elected by a big margin a couple years ago, I think that'll be enough to put Allen over the top. But I'm not confident in that pick, I have to tell you.
Okay, but in any event, Romney's ahead of Allen, as I understand it, in the polling, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He is, but he's still hitting the state even at this
I can't believe
last day.
They used to ignore Virginia. All right, now what have we missed? What's the other one that's sitting out there? Well, you got something in New Mexico.
Well, New Mexico's a hold for the Democrats. I think that they had an attractive Republican candidate, Heather Wilson, but the Democrats are just running too far ahead in New Mexico, and Martin Heinrich, I think, is going to take it.
And Michigan
is another hold for the Democrats. You know, with the national election being even, this one could be on the radar screen. But Debbie Stabenow, the incumbent, is double-digit leads in 3 different polls. Peter Hoekstra, I don't think, is going to close. But if by some miracle Michigan goes for Romney, maybe he'll ride some coattails.
All right, so when it's all shaken and stewed, shaken, not stirred, whatever, you think the Republicans are going to pick up 7 Senate seats, and they're going to lose 2, which will be a net gain of 5, right?
Which would be enough to give them Senate control. Now, I realize that the last-minute polls have been going against the Republicans here in the last few days, and Romney has gone from maybe a 4-point lead to a virtual tie, and that could affect Senate races. But I think that The pollsters are missing the turnout model, the enthusiasm, and perhaps some support from independents. And it may be that Obamacare is still out there as an issue, because it's not going to be repealed if Republicans don't win the Senate. So if voters are interested in that, they're going to elect their Republican candidate.
In the presidential race, you were saying that you said Pennsylvania was going to go for Obama. I'm thinking Pennsylvania's going to go for Romney.
Well, we may agree to disagree on that one. I do believe that I have it going for Romney in the overall presidential race, but I have Pennsylvania going for Obama, and I have Wisconsin going for Romney. I have Virginia, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, all going for Romney.
Virginia, Ohio, Florida, and North Carolina
all going for Romney. Colorado for Romney.
All right.
Iowa for Obama.
And
Ohio for Romney.
Ohio for Romney. Okay. Well,
I feel like I'm swimming upstream a little bit based on the most recent polls, but I think turnout is going to give the election to Romney.
So you think Romney will win the Electoral College and win the presidency, the Senate? Well, that'll mean a clean sweep. If your predictions are right, the Republicans will have it all, and they'd better get something done. They'll have the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
That's exactly right. They better get something done.
Woo-wee. Okay. John Waggy, we will look with eager anticipation to see if you are as good as you were. Man, how many years it's been since you called that one?
That was 1994 when I called the House for the Republicans. But I have to say, I'm an equal opportunity upset picker, because I did pick the Democrats to take the Senate in 2006 when it didn't look like they were going to.
Well,
so.
All right, man. All right, our fearless forecaster. You've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. See how it plays out.